Or the one I told you years ago, had heard from sources close to him how he's addicted to drinking blood and carries vials of blood in his suitcase. The same one that can shapeshift at a dime's hat. And I have a website at omegansareLiars.com. And surprise, surprise, Al Gore and Hillary Clinton and Dick Cheney, all three together. I've had that website up for ages. This is before Hillary. I think Bill was his first term as president when I put up that website. Because I knew that in the future Hillary was going to be dominant. And I've talked about it for years, and people just thought, oh, yeah, right. But here we are. And it's her timeline. People ask me about Obama, and I just don't... He's not as dominant as Hillary is. He's just not as dominant. The part that there is a black Negro in power in the last days, now that is dominant. But I'm not convinced it's Obama either. It could be one of these beasts that are coming. It could be anybody. Just because it says black Negro. I'm not convinced that's Obama. It could be. I guess we'll have to wait and see which route is taken. I've warned you. There's 4 dominant beasts coming. There's an Aryan beast. There's a Arab beast. There's a black beast. And there's a female beast. And I don't think Hillary's the female beast. I think the female beast is this, they call her... what do they call her? And Blavatsky talks about her. Lady, whatever her name is. It's on my website, Omegans Are Liars. I don't know what name she's going to come by, but she's actually Eve. Just like this Maitreya coming as a cloned body of Cain. Satan promised Eve she would never die. He's managed to keep her alive throughout all the centuries. With monatomic gold, she'll return. People think Eve is in heaven with Adam, and I don't believe that's the case. I believe this Queen of Heaven worship all of these years all rather gets back to Eve. Some people believe it's the other one that was created first. My mind's going blank tonight, but the first one, can't even think of her name. But it's not her. The one that starts with an L. Somebody send me an IM and remind me what her name is. 'Cause my mind goes blank. I wasn't really planning on talking about that tonight. Otherwise, I reviewed information. But this female beast coming is actually Eve, along with Maitreya, who this Iranian Mahdi is a clone of Cain. Not just a son of Cain, he's a clone of Cain. He's a clone of Cain, and so very interesting that one's going to be. And he's very vicious. And you have the Aryan, which could be Bush. It could be Jesus. Because also Aramaean is also one of them. This Aramaean would be Sananda. This Aryan beast would be Bush, or the leader of Babylon, perhaps Al Gore. And this Arab beast is Maitreya, and so you have the Aramaean, the Arab, the Aryan. There's a black beast and there's a female beast. So there's 5 of them. So very interesting, folks. And Lilith. Thank you. The first one created was Lilith. And for a long time I had wondered if this female beast wasn't Lilith, and the Lord had reminded me that Lilith was a separate creation. And so it's not her. But he did also remind me that Eve, Satan, promised her eternal immortality. And so it's hard to read the original Genesis chapters 1, 2, and 3 and get a good idea of what happened at the beginning of our time, because it wasn't meant to be a detailed writing of the beginning of time. You know, there's so many times that the ones who did write books in the New Testament just assumed people knew, already assumed that they knew information. And so when we look at these books 1,000, 2,000 years later, we've lost a lot of the knowledge that they had. You know, the serpent seed back then wasn't even a doctrine. It wasn't even a second thought. It was just the way things were. There was the Lord's seed and there was the serpent seed, Satan's seed on earth. People didn't argue about it. It was just the way it was. And you talk about it now, and the church is all rail against you because they didn't want that truth brought back out. They thought they had it buried and worded over and covered because Satan wanted to hide his presence on earth. You know, we're at a literal war in the last days between the sons of Jacob and the sons of Esau. And we're going to see it heat up to lengths you've never seen before. I don't think history will ever see before, because it's going to result in the deaths of millions and millions and millions of Christians around the world through martial law. It's going to be a war between Islam and Christianity, one I've been warning about for years coming. And you're going to see Islam very vicious. And we already know they're vicious. You look at them now, how vicious they are. It's going to be much worse. Europe's going to be destroyed. America's going to be destroyed. People ask me about Canada and Australia. And I've looked at Canada and Australia in the codes. And other than just events happening right now, that they're just kind of observers watching things going on around the world, I don't see anything dominant in them yet. The Lord isn't showing me anything in them yet. In fact, I was just in Australia last night. I have a lot of supporters out in Australia. And I'm seeing the same thing in Australia as if I had typed in a search word for the United States. It's talking about the orgone. It's talking about the coming legislation, which I've told you the whole reason for this is to take down the orgone warriors around the world. And free speech, because they're tired of being exposed. And so it has a dual purpose. And so this whole attack is just around the corner. It's the next thing on the agenda is the subtle attack against the Lord's people. It's going to be masked, it's going to be hidden behind legislations. But if you're one of the Lord's people, it's directed specifically towards you. They're coming after the Lord's people. They want to eliminate the Christians on earth. They're really too much worried about the ones in the churches, because they're already so mind-controlled. They're yes men. They just say whatever the pastor and do whatever the pastors tell them to do. And of course the government's already been sending out their little instructions to pastors on how to act and what verses to teach from the pulpit. When martial law begins, when they start coming after the real bride, the real believers, it's going to cause a divide amongst believers, I think. You're going to see a big division between the church believers and the ones who have been smart enough to leave the churches. There's going to be a big division between the two, because the ones who have left the churches have the Lord's real heart. They have the truth. They've been seeking Him. And that's what they're going to come after. That's the ones they're going to come after first. And when they can't get them, can't find them, they'll go after the church ones. Yeah, we've got war coming, but they've got to find us to get us. And one of the things I always thought was funny was the first thing Maitreya does when he comes. I've always told you he's pissed off when he arrives. He's angry. He's hateful. He's just really angry. I never could figure out why he was so mad. And then when I started looking at how the orgone was destroying his forces and his UFOs around the world, and how it's going to continue to do so, it's just going to increase. That's one of the reasons he's mad. And so he comes after the Lord's people for his demise. He knows they're the ones behind it. But we're gone. We're gone. That's the only rapture I've ever seen in the Bible, is the rapture of the 144,000. It's the only rapture I've ever seen. I've never seen a church, huge bride rapture of millions. I've seen 144,000 being raptured off the earth. And so he's angry as heck. He's coming after us for all the destruction we've done to him and his forces, and we're gone. And so he turns around and heads for the church people, the supposed Christians, the ones who are going to be tested and refined through martial law. Those are the ones he's going to go after. And he's angry, and he's mad that he can't find the 144,000. And he blasphemes the tabernacle of heaven. And you see this really just displayed in the codes exactly like that. And I'm like, this is exactly how